Stop recording.
Hello everyone on YouTube, it's Jordan here again, and today we're going to be doing another Linux video, and we're going to take a look at my second favourite Linux distribution. That is Ubuntu Mate. Now, the current version of Ubuntu Mate, the actual one with the latest software, is Ubuntu Mate 21.04 Hirsute Hippo. I've probably pronounced it wrong, Hirsute, or is it pronounced Hirsute? I don't know. But that's the official Ubuntu code name for it. So we're going to give Ubuntu Mate 21.04 a go and see if we can actually install it, because it has made some big changes which you're going to want to need to look at.
Caps lock off. Caps lock on. Caps lock off.
So we're going to be booting in live mode. So I've got a USB with the distro on it now, so I'm going to go ahead and boot it. And the version of Orca it uses is version 3.38.0. So let's oops, wrong boot option. Booting into my hard drive there with Linux Mint on it. There we go, we should be booting into Ubuntu Mate now. So let's let that boot. It does take a while. You know it's booting up because it'll play a tune. Now, I love the Mate desktop. It's one of the best desktop environments there is. Now, the Mate desktop itself is pretty accessible, and it works just like a charm. I mean, you install the Mate desktop and you've got an accessible desktop waiting for you once you're able to switch into it. So that begs the question now. Let's just let it boot. Why not GNOME? There we go, there's the installer. Let me just turn the volume up. Turn on our screen reader.
Screen reader on.
And you'll now notice that the voice is now American English. So you're going to want to change that. And there is another problem as well. You can no longer install it independently with Orca. I don't know what it is, but I think the GNOME developers have decided that once a program is in sudo mode, in other words, you open a program as an administrator, Orca just won't speak. So that's extremely annoying. I hope this doesn't carry on over to the next LTS version of Ubuntu. So, what have we got in terms of our screen reader preferences? Or can we actually install stuff from our do we actually have internet connection? Well, let's
insert.
Let me just go ahead and change the preferences.
Screen reader preferences dialog. General page tab, left tab, help tab, apply tab, cans tab, OK tab, general page tab, voice speech page left control.
Voice, where's the voice?
Voice page tab, voice type tab, speech system, combo bar tab, speech synthesizer, combo box, default synthesizer tab, language, combo box, MUS.
Now that sounds pretty bad as it is. So I'm going to change that to
N020 NGP tab. Let speak voice OK push return. Screen reader settings reloaded.
Now that
Welcome frame.
now that we've actually loaded into Ubuntu Mate, we're not actually going to install it because there's no way to do it with at this current stage because
Show stop.
the team behind GNOME, I believe, have implemented this mechanic. Whereas if you run something as root, the screen reader just won't speak. I mean, I could try running Orca as root, see if that does anything. But ultimately, it just won't do it won't make a difference. So in terminal, let me try it with terminal. Before we go ahead and
let's try
this.
Space S space box and return. Return.
So now I think now that I'm running Orca as a root, I should be able
Left alt welcome. Ubuntu Mate assign Ubuntu Mate left
to
control.
install it.
Left
So let's go to
desktop.
the desktop.
Ubuntu install Ubuntu return.
So normally you would get speech feedback in an average Ubuntu Mate session, but it just doesn't, unfortunately.
F4.
You just can't install it.
F4. Ubuntu Mate assign Ubuntu left return. Left alert warning. Close this can't close to return. Welcome for left control. Left well.
Where am I?
Welcome. Welcome left. Ubuntu Mate assign Ubuntu Mate. Tilde. Install Ubuntu Mate 21.04 desktop configuration left
So
left
that's
alt
the-
desktop.
We're still on our
Left,
desktop. Let me
left
just open the
desktop.
terminal again.
Ubuntu Mate assign Ubuntu Mate. Tilde. Install Ubuntu left alt. Escape. Left desktop left control.
You can tell these non-LTS versions are not recommended. They're full of bugs. So, enough said. Let's go take a look at some of the accessories that we get in this new version of Ubuntu Mate. So,
Left menu.
we've got
Accessories backups.
our backups, character map, disks,
and Ramper Archive Manager.
good old friend in Ramper, firmware,
Mate calculate. Mate pass blank. Bloomer take screenshot. Bloomer 5. Unlock off. Bloomer capital PLUMA.
so it's called Pluma. That's kind of cool.
Take screenshot. Ubuntu Mate guide. Backups, character map disks, and Ramper Archive Map and capital ENGRAMBA space. Firmware. For capital FIRMWARE. Access graphic into Firefox web browser.
So, just your usual stuff. We've got Firefox
Transmission.
and transmission.
Into Office menu.
Office is the usual.
Sound and celluloid.
Now, we've got Celluloid here,
Rhythmbox.
Rhythmbox,
Sound.
Sound,
Webcamoid.
and a new application called Webcamoid, which is a webcam application for, which is exclusive to Ubuntu Mate, but it's also been backported to Focal Fossa. So if you want to try Webcamoid out, you can install it on Ubuntu 20.04 Focal Fossa. So you don't have to give one of the new versions of Ubuntu a try if you don't want to. I mean, it's entirely up to you what you want to do. So that's pretty awesome.
Escape. Desktop. Ubuntu. Install. Ubuntu Mate home icon.
So we've got our home folder.
Ubuntu desktop videos, templates, app, public, picture, music, downloads, document, desktop.
It's, you know, what you expect.
Home.
Can we actually install stuff?
Left home.
No, because our terminal is inaccessible.
Ubuntu mate left.
Unlike
Menu.
in
Shut lock sys places sys prefer bit control about prefer bit is install printer soft users and welcome. Install Ubuntu printers. Install return. Home frame. Icon view. Ubuntu mate folder.
It's a shame that we can't actually install Ubuntu Mate with the orca screen reader. So those are some of the applications. The rest of the apps are exactly the same. So would I recommend you use it as a visually impaired person? Well, as we've seen, no. If you want to use Linux, or Ubuntu Mate in this case, stick with the LTS edition of Ubuntu Mate. Because you're sacrificing new software, you're sacrificing your ability to use your computer for the new software. So, don't get me wrong, Ubuntu Mate 20.21.4 is a fairly good release for those who aren't in need of accessibility software. But it otherwise is unusable to a blind or visually impaired person. Nevertheless, it still remains my favourite distro, and whenever I want to, I use Ubuntu Mate 20.04 FOSSA. I'm hoping that they can fix this annoying bug, because not only is it affecting Ubuntu Mate, it's also affecting Fedora, it affects Zorin OS, it affects pretty much any new GNOME-based Linux distribution. So if you're on the newer version of GNOME, then chances are you're not going to be able to install it independently. So begs the question now.
Screen reader on. Login.
Yeah, let me just log into Mint. Log into Linux Mint. So we've done some exploring around Ubuntu Mate 20.04, and honestly, I mean 21.04, and honestly, it feels new, but it's plagued full of bugs. And that accessibility bug is a big one. Now, it goes against the manifesto because the developer is committed to keeping Ubuntu Mate accessible, but yet we can't install Ubuntu Mate 21.04 using Orca. That is the one reason visually impaired people love Ubuntu. And now with this new thing trending, where you can't actually install Ubuntu Mate with the Orca screen reader active, it just doesn't make any sense. I mean, you've got the screen reader on a distro that integrates with it pretty well. But you can't, for the life of you, install the distro because because as soon as you run a program as root, Orca is disabled. So what are my recommendations then if you want to use Ubuntu Mate? Go for any of the current LTS versions. So that would be, well, the current one is Ubuntu 20.04 LTS. So go for that. That lets you install that with no problem at all. So that's that. That's that problem dealt with. Or you can
Authentication. Force quit applications. System dialog. Quit time play. Stop rec.
Or you can give Ubuntu, or you can give Linux Mint Mate Edition a try. Linux Mint will always be based on an LTS edition, and hopefully this weird issue with sudo does not carry over to the LTS editions. Or otherwise, a visually impaired person is no longer going to want to use Linux anymore. They'll find themselves switching back to Windows or Mac OS, and that'll be the end of it. So if the Orca developers are watching this, the screen reader really does need to be up to date with the new technology. Orca is great as it is now, but when the end of life for Ubuntu 20.04 comes along, which isn't until April 2025 anyway, then the visually impaired Linux community is going to be stuck because they'll be forced to use an outdated version of Ubuntu 20. An Ubuntu LTS or a non-LTS, which is not recommended. If they want to run Linux, they'll have to do it in a live environment. They won't be able to install it, and that's not convenient, especially if you've got a USB stick that can't fit a load of things on, and the file system that the live media boots from is approximately 2 gig. So, yeah, that's definitely something to consider. Definitely an interesting road for Linux, that's for sure. What do you think? Let me know in the comments. And if you enjoyed this content, consider subscribing. And if you want to see more content, make sure to hit that notification bell so that you never miss an update. And that's probably the bell that you just heard ringing now on my phone. Except it's yeah. But I'm getting ahead of myself there. This is Jordan signing off saying have a good day everyone.
Stop recording.